Hi there everybody, and welcome to the next episode of the Paint Party Livestream. This is, I believe, episode 164. It's so good to be with you again in studio. You can perhaps tell from my studio lighting that we have passed daylight saving time here in the US, and it's much brighter outside, especially because tonight is a very sunny evening. We're getting ready for another snowstorm tomorrow, but today it's beautiful, about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, so we're enjoying these spring days when we get them, and hopefully the snow will melt very quick. But it's so good to be with you again in studio. I hope that your week was a great one. If you've been here before, you know how this works. This is my learn to paint journey. Several years ago, I started teaching myself to paint using primarily YouTube tutorials. And so this live stream is a reflection of that process. It's a continuation of that process where I meet with you every Monday evening here in my studio, and we work on a different painting. For the last few weeks, I've been working on paintings that had been started here in my studio over the last couple of years. Many of them were started in acrylic paint, and so basically have a pretty good underpainting of acrylic, and I'm finishing those with oil, so I'm trying to get a lot of those cleared out of my studio, and so that's what we've been working on the last few weeks. This is very informal. You can stay as long as you'd like. You can participate in any way you like, but you can participate in the live stream via the comments wherever you're watching us. So you can ask questions, you can make comments as we go through the evening. Please do so. I really enjoy interacting with you as I paint. And so take advantage of that. All right, let's jump right in. Let's get started. We are going to work on a little bit of the painting that we had started last week of the Church of St. Stephen in Lisbon, Portugal. This is a painting that I had started probably 2 years ago when I came back from Portugal. This is the current status of it. Ooh, there's some wet paint still there. And I did a couple of sessions on this painting this past week. So it is still a little bit tacky here, but we will do a little bit more detail work. It's getting there. I redid the sky and I redid the clouds as well as the water. I also redid some of the rooftops and fixed some of those things, but there's still some detail work here that I haven't really gotten into. I've done quite a bit of detail work over here on this side of the building, and then there's really there's no windows in, and there's just kind of some sketchy windows down here. So I want to get those refined and basically just nail down some of the lines this week. So that's what we're going to work on. Oh, I guess that paint is more tacky than I thought on the edges. I worked on it a couple days ago, so I may need to use a medium to kind of... Anyway, let's jump over and let me bring you to this camera. Welcome to those of you who are just joining. So good to have you. Please feel free to comment or ask questions wherever you're watching us. I'm always glad to engage with you as we go through this evening. All right, so this is going to be our reference, and let me put in also my palette here. This is where I'm mixing my paint, so you can see a little bit of that. There is a little glare in the studio, not a little, there's a lot of glare in the studio tonight. I apologize for that, but that is with my, maybe we can, trying to figure out a way to show more of this, raise it up a little bit. I have it on an arm. There we go, maybe that helps. You can see my dirty floor as well. But there we go. That gives you the full palette, or almost, and there we are. And I will get this camera set up so that you can see the painting and what I'm working on my easel. Okay. There we go. I think that's pretty good. Let me come over here, and I'm going to bring my stool over. It's difficult because my tripod is right next to my stool, and I don't want to bump that, but I want to get you guys close enough that you can really see what's going on. I think that works. I don't know. Okay, let's go back here. Here we are. All right, there is a little glare from the window behind me, and I apologize for that. I didn't shut the shades, and I'm attached to a microphone, so, well, I wonder if it will stretch. Let's see if I can pull down that blind. All winter, this sun does not come in here, and so it's not a problem, but that's better, I'm sure. All right, yeah, we got rid of some of that. It's so dark in this area, even though this is the... All right. Let's jump in, y'all. How was everybody's week? I hope your week was good. Oh, I already did that. Welcome. I need to get more gloves. I just noticed that. Let me put that there so I don't forget it, maybe. What, I have several creative projects all going at once. That's kind of the bane of my existence. And it's not a bad bane of existence, but I have all these things that I am doing and want to do, and I have more things I want to do than I have time to do, and so I'm trying to be smart about it, but it's a challenge. Okay, let's see. This is, I don't know how this paint got on there, but it is not good. Not good. Okay, so I'm trying to think. I think I want to, finish the clouds. I think the sky is pretty good, but I want to finish these clouds and do some detailed work there. And I do like the highlight of the clouds being right here behind this tower because I really want that to stand out. Actually, I want to do I want to do the little, I don't know what it's called, but the spire on top of this tower, because I haven't worked on that at all. So let's see if we can do a little bit of that. First, I really would like to get as much of this done as I can. As much of this painting done as possible. So I want to start finalizing some of this stuff. Okay, that's kind of a gray, and I'm okay with that. I'm just mixing kind of a gray color, a gray tone. Might need a little more brown. Don't need a ton of paint. All right, let's see. See what it looks like. Let's take, I'm gonna take this. See, I want to draw pretty accurately here. Wonder if I should just let's see. It's kind of a, so it has this right here. Let's just bring this straight down. It has this little nubbin thing on the, okay, and it's got a little bit and it's got a ball, a little ball, so that's going to be a challenge. Hey there, Big Toad, so good to see you. Thanks for popping in. How was your week? I hope it was good. I am not the best drawer. Okay. Then it has a little thing here. Okay. Then it has, this is probably, well, maybe not too, it's a little big, but then there is the cross. Hard week of work, but good weekend. Was able to get a long day of painting on Saturday. Ah, that's awesome. There's something about having a, I got 2 or 3 extra sessions in this week that weren't on the live stream, and it just is really, I don't know. there's something not only fulfilling, but it just feels like accomplished, I guess. It's been difficult for me recently because I was saying earlier, I have all these projects that I'm in the middle of and even things I want to do, but are just I don't necessarily have the time for all of them. They're all good things, but yeah, so okay, there we go. I think this is good. It's a good start. It gives us the foundation. I will probably adjust this some, and because I painted over some of this with when I did the clouds, so that's part of this, is bringing back the shape to pull it forward. All right, pretty happy with that. Okay, now we can go to the clouds. And the reason I did that is because if I had worked on the clouds, then that would be wet paint and I wouldn't be able to do the precise work of that kind of the cross steeple part of the thing. So yeah, that's why I did it that way. So now let's see if we can see if we can work on these clouds a little bit. And I think we can. Let us just see here. Let me go. Now, what I want to do with the clouds is refine these lines, because I redid the whole sky. And so you can tell it's a little blurry, which is fine because like this color that I smoothed in, it looks like there's mist in the sky, which is atmospheric, good atmospheric things. But I used a blender brush, and so it kind of blended out. So I want to go back and really refine some of this this cloud stuff. I don't know what that cloud stuff, cloud lines. Okay, now let me look at put a little there's some really bright kind of yellow there. So I don't know if we want it that yellow, but I do want to mix a little bit of this here and bring we need some kind of a shadow color. So let's take, in order to do that, we need that blue, and the blue is really powerful, so we don't need a whole lot, but it is pretty intense. So we take, and then actually I could probably take some of this gray in here, just tone it down a little bit, but it gives us a nice warm gray. This will be the shadow on the clouds. If we need to restate any of that, it's gonna give us a blue tint. It's almost a purple. I might need a little more red, or a little more of the brown, because it looks pretty purple. That gives us a little... It's hard for you to see, I understand, because there's a pretty big glare right here on my palette, but all right, let's go in and if we can mix some of this in. See if it's too yellow. We'll see once we get it up on the... Okay. I want to begin to cut in the lines of these clouds. And I start at this side and then kind of come backward. Hey there, Uncle John and Aunt Linda. It's so good to see you. Thanks for popping in. I always appreciate it. So the technique I'm using is I'm coming at the edge of these clouds and creating and then I come in to the edge and then I come backwards away from the light so that as I move backwards it blends into the under painting. There you'll get kind of, this will help us to, I kind of messed it up a little bit, but it will help us to create that feeling of 3 dimensions in the clouds, or 3-dimensional clouds. It gives us space between them. Yeah, this is not quite what I'm going for, but want to load this brush with paint. I am learning also, so we will see. I'm not sure if this is going to turn out the way I want, but clouds have been kind of a bane of my existence, have been difficult for me. learning. So I am okay with that. I'm determined at some point to learn how to do clouds, and the only way to learn, not the only way, but one of the best ways is to paint lots of clouds and find out what doesn't work. So I'm going to keep doing it till I get where I can, almost like second nature. These aren't bad clouds, they're just not particularly convincing in my opinion. They look a little formulaic as I lay these in. They're looking a little bump, 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 bump. So, but it's easier said than done. Don't do that. I'm going to try to do some flatter clouds as we come out this direction, because we want them, as they go away from us, to be more at least that's what I want. Okay, now as we go this direction, I want to include a little bit of this little more the shadow as we come. I don't want it as bright, so I want somewhere in between the light and shadows. we'll create this by diffusing this a little bit, and I'm mixing it with blue and gray, taking it pretty far down into Shadowland. Now I can keep this intensity up here. I'm not sure if I should have done all of those as intense, but I can still carve out kind of the shape of these clouds out here on the horizon. A way that will allow them to stand out, but they won't be, your eye will still go this direction. If that makes sense, at least that's the attempt. Let's see. Can't tell if this is going to work. That's too much. Out here we'll have more of this. Shadow side, because the light is coming from above, obviously, and it's we're getting a lot of shadow in the clouds that's reflected from down below. So this helps us kind of carve out the form of those clouds, especially at a distance, what it looks like. At least that's the intent, y'all. That's what we're trying to do over in these parts. Oop, that's really dark. Actually, I think this should be down in here. That darker, intense darker should be on this side. Farther from the light, if that makes sense. I'll have to rework this because my values got a little off, not a little, but a lot. So let's take in some of this. We need kind of this mid. Tone to I'm not sure. I don't know what I'm doing, y'all. It's all right. It's okay not to know what you're doing. That's how you learn. Do it 10 different ways, all of them wrong, but the last one's a little bit less wrong than the other. That's the thing. I have to keep the values appropriate to the what's happening is when I went darker here, now these are coming way too forward. And so that's why I have to tone those down a little bit, because I want this to be the darkest value because it's set forward. And now the church is almost disappearing into the clouds. So I may have to wait and redo these clouds a bit. I may have to do another layer, but we'll get them eventually. All these layers will be semi-translucent in the final, so that's what's nice. You know, all of these will have, there we go, will shine through in some regard. Okay. Oops, almost messed that up. If I can get my composition right though, then I can always come back in. And I really like this composition as far as the clouds, where it's going. So I think we just don't overpaint them. We have a few highlights out here on the edge. What I'm trying to do is come back with some of these mid-tones between the darks and the lights and create some shape. Kind of what I started to do with the highlights, if that makes sense. sure. Again, I don't know what I'm doing. I am just experimenting and learning as I go. Just putting that mid-tone, see how it suddenly pops the church forward. Just correcting the values a little bit. I have lots of Hey there, Shirley. Thanks for popping in. Great to see you. All right. Take some. Actually, I don't think I want to do that. Because this side of the church is in the sunlight. So I do need kind of those darker tones here. So I'm not sure exactly how to. That's a kind of a, I don't know, what do they call it? An illusion of, let me show you this because it's within reach. So like I had the same situation in this tower where the clouds are light here and so is the edge of this. So you really have to like figure out how to balance that on a two-dimensional plane, because our eye and camera, the eye will capture things and the camera will capture things that aren't as they are, but on a painting you have to understand the physics of it a little bit and make those adjustments, because as the artist you have to figure out the illusion. What is the illusion that I want to create, which in this case is the clouds are way back in the back, but there's still quite a bit of shape and value difference. So what I've done is I've dropped these all back to kind of a mid-tone, and there are little bits of shadow in there, but we've lost a lot of the shape, and I'm okay with that because yeah, I messed it up. So we caked on a lot of paint. Pretty happy with these clouds out here to here, and then we'll have to come in and figure out how much and what kind of highlights we want around the church in order to make it stand out. All right, for now, that's okay. I like this one too. Thanks. This is a challenge for me just because I am not an architectural painter. Had to redo basically the whole rooftops and a couple of times to get this so it looks relatively correct, because the angle I took it at, it faces that direction, but the building was added onto, I think, and it looks a little odd. The facade is different than the interior of the church. And so, yeah, it's a challenge to make it look correct and then make this read correct. Because I had to, I don't know if y'all can see it, but when you're painting the tower, this side is warmer actually, even though this side is more in the sunlight. It's more shaded because this is reflecting the orange from the roof. And when I looked real closely, this has almost a pink hue in the reference, and this has a cooler bluish hue. And once I put that into the paint, all of a sudden this tower started reading a lot more correctly. But it is a challenge to get it correct. So speaking of this tower, I want to correct some of the perspective issues here. Let's see if we can do that. Again, we just want to suggest certain things. Oh, it's too purple. I've seen some use a T-square. Yes, that is actually what that's what I should have done. That's what I should be doing. But I've learned, like, if I do something like, or when I do something like this again, number one, I need to do some practice sketches to improve my, I just haven't done a lot of perspective drawings, which would help me in the long run, I know. And so I need to do that. And then also do a good undersketch, because I've gotten fairly good at going back after the fact and kind of like this, just touching up little areas and making slight adjustments, but it is not a very efficient way to paint for sure. It is a pretty inefficient way. That is probably the smartest way to do it. Now we've totally lost that edge of the cupola, or whatever this little tip is called. That's because I also have messed with the background. Like, I put those clouds in there. That is not in the reference, obviously. It's a more bright sunny day, so I'll have to figure out how to really push. Let me try something, see what it does. I may have to change it, but what if I really brighten this edge, like pretend like the sun is shining off of it the same way as the clouds? Does it pop it forward at all? Nope, not really. So that tells me my clouds need... Yes, I would definitely... I think I'd have to use the T-square for my my initial drawing and get the initial drawing correct, and then paint that so that I wouldn't have to use the T-square with paint. I'm impressed. I'd be curious if those people that you saw painting with a T-square, if they painted with acrylic or oil, because see, now we give this a lot of sunlight and it comes, essentially we give it sunlight and it comes forward. But I don't know if that's the solution. Maybe part of the solution. Can't dink too much with this, because then I have to start giving, really thinking, okay, these edges all have to be in bright sunlight as well. So yeah, it's a challenge, but it is a great challenge because it makes me think. I want to get these lines pretty straightened out. I think a, oh, there's a little bit there. We can do a little bit of this. Let's see. That turquoise, it's really strong. So let's take just a little bit of this, bring it in here. A little blue, a little turquoise, green, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. See. What I'm trying to do is match here as close as I can to this. I think it needs to be diffused a little bit. We'll make this just a little bit of a sunny spot. There now, I think this there, I think we have a pretty good line there. So let's try to go in again. That's wet paint, so it's not probably going to stand out, but if we do it light enough and heavy enough, It's not perfect, but you know, life isn't perfect. I'll have to redo that anyway. Hey, Bob. Looking better and better, which of course is the idea, huh? Yes. Theoretically. I'm glad you think it's looking better and better, because sometimes I feel like I'm just looking at something cross-eyed because I've been looking at it for 2 or 3 days and it's just, I'm like, oh, I need to add that, and then I'm like, oh no, I don't. And then it's like, yes, you do. So it's good that you can see that it is looking better and better, because I will, at this point, trust your word for it over mine. If that makes sense. Okay, let's see. Can I take this out of here? Can I get the green out? Okay, what I want to do is come back and put some of this distressing on this, along the edge of this. Need lots of paint on the brush. Lots of paint on the brush. I want to put some of that. It's kind of a, I assume it's a fungus or something that grows on these old buildings. There we go. I have this earworm in my head. I am accompanying a middle school ensemble and solo competition this week, and was rehearsing with the kids today, and I have one of the like motifs from one of their songs in my head, and it won't go away, which is, I mean, it's, oh, that's just so dark. See, but then when I smear it, it's not as precise. So, and it won't go away. It won't go away. That's what's going on in my head. Can't hardly help it. Sorry. Y'all are gonna get treated to a little singing tonight. the thing is, this looks, this is mostly just detail work that doesn't need to be done. I'm just getting more and more nitpicky. Because it's the illusion. See, now it looks really, at least on your screen, looks really dark, huh? But I think it's okay. I do want to redo kind of this window. This one I want to square up a little bit. It's so subtle how these windows, I did these wet on wet a couple days ago, so I just kind of put them in place as placeholders, but now I'm trying to go in and do these subtle little bits of mixing a little yellow here to do this. Okay, let me it needs yellow and kind of a red. It's got to be a little bit darker. It's got to stand out from the background. It's all these really subtle little shifts, especially those of you who remember the painting of Mont Saint Michel that I did, that big, huge painting that I worked on for a couple of years. It's that challenge of these big subtle shifts, or these little subtle shifts, I mean, because you have basically the same color, but it's such a shift from there to there to show and then from here to here to show the difference in the stone, and how the stone, like this is reflecting something kind of warm colored, this is reflecting something cool. So this could probably be a little cooler, not quite as cool as this, but this side could be cooler. But I'm not gonna go, and because it's reading okay the way it is, I'm not going to be super picky about that. And at some point I want to get where this is, good enough, like done. I don't want it to be photorealistic. I don't think that is what this calls for. I just want to get some of these, because I don't need a lot of detail back here, honestly, on this wall. I just need the lines to be pretty precise, and then this will read just fine. If I fix some of these lines, or don't fix them, but make them more straight between the trim stones and so we'll just clean up some of these. And by cooling this down a little bit, we can give this kind of chimney stack or whatever it is some shape. Because the more distance I have from here, which is the focal point, the less detail I need. It's kind of like the clouds, they just kind of they're off to the edge there. And that's part of the problem also with using a reference photo, because the photo captures everything, the things that even our eyes don't capture. Our eyes just capture, the major details. and obviously our brain even fills in a bunch of details. And so and I just realized that this roof comes out into here, but I don't think I'm going to bring it all the way out here because it doesn't make sense. I think it's just fine the way it is. And the people who know Lisbon or who know this church particularly, it's a landmark. So especially there's a Miradouro, which is a lookout over the city, and this landmark sits below it, and so it's a well-known, well-recognized place, and I am fine with that. Like if the people who know it recognize it, then that's good. If they can understand, because again, the people who are like, oh, that's that church, aren't going to be sitting comparing it to a photo to say, okay, what rooftop is out of alignment? As long as the main thing reads, then it's good. That's what I'm going for. And I want all the, just cleaning up kind of these lines in here so that it is again, nothing, I don't want anything to stand out. I don't know if you've ever paid attention to this, but if you look at this facade, there's all these little tiny changes of cool and warm. So like this line is like, this reflection is cooler, this is warmer and more shadow, this is warmer over here because it's kind of reflecting, this orange is reflecting up into there and down. and then this is cooler along here and then warmer here. And in order to get, you have to put like shadows in the right places to make all of that look correct. So it's really interesting. And it's yeah, learning, like figuring that out. I don't know if that's going to help or hurt. So anyway, I'm going to quit messing around with that. Try to do my best to carve out the lines here. Do-do-do. Again, subtle shifts in value. I'm brightening this value a little bit, and this, now all these architectural features are jumping out, but it's mostly because now I have them in the right place. I can do that. It's almost like carving a sculpture. You're like carving out the illusion of the shapes that are there. I mean, I put blobs of paint down, but now it's like, okay, let me go back and carve out the how the window is sitting there and how these pillars are carved out. In a way, I'm kind of proud because I'm like, it's shocking to me that I got this good of a likeness without doing any sort of a sketch or a, you know, like I didn't have a sketch of the church that I, colored in or painted in. So even though I had to make some major adjustments, I'm pretty darn proud of that. kind of boring. I apologize for that. Oh, that's very kind. Again, this is more the detail, just kind of detail work that makes the whole illusion come together. But now let's go over here, see if we can I just kind of broadly got these in the right place, especially these pillars. Too dark. Okay. What I'm trying to do is I want to get as close to the original as I can to blend it in. I used a turquoise brush. I was doing that and got some on the wall here, so I want to fix that. This wall is a tad warmer just because it's a little bit further. So we're just gonna take that. Then it needs to come, we need to make it really precise along that edge. Hey there, Mom and Dad. Thanks for popping in. Was the mayoral city council thing tonight, or was that next Monday? I'm assuming maybe tonight. I can't remember. We have a local mayoral and city, not city council, but a school board election. And there is a forum either tonight or next week. I can't remember. Okay. Now, let's go into this little yellow . I want to, oh, that's not quite yellow enough. Or dark enough. So I need to, because I want to make sure there's a definite difference between these walls. And now what I want is to figure out how to do this. Regular commissioners meeting tomorrow is the mail. Ah, that's why I thought I would be at school. I bet they will postpone it. Do you want me to call it now? I bet they will postpone it till next week because we're supposed to get a snowstorm. So that would be my guess. It just depends, though, if the snow actually shows up and what we get. If it is what they're saying or if it's not, will be interesting to see. Okay. I'm trying to put a very definitive but light border around that. I need to do the same here. Doesn't have to be as then we don't need tons of detail, but I do want to take this I'm going wet into wet, so I don't want to do too much. Just going to put the suggestion of there. Oop. Well, we'll see. This is enough detail to make it read like it is. There. All right. I am getting pretty happy with how the edges of this are. Like that is I think good. Few. Like just giving it some age lines. Yes, Bob G, isn't that kind of mind-boggling? I started when I was at ASMSA in the middle of the pandemic on Instagram, actually, in my little back room in that apartment downtown. And here we are 160 some odd episodes later. Last week I wrote on my Substack site, I wrote about, tiny steps that make a big impact. And that's one of the things I've been thinking about recently a lot in regards to creativity and the development of a skill set, specifically because I've noticed, I haven't been particularly faithful with this endeavor other than, showing up every Monday night, but often I don't get any more time in other than that time with you all. But even that has created some significant, improvements in my skill. And so it's really quite remarkable to me. um, what can be accomplished when you just show up day after day, time after time, and somehow get it done. And so it encourages me with other endeavors I'm taking on, like trying to learn to play the pipe organ. Even though I've only been doing that 5 or 6 weeks, I see, oh, I'm improving. And then, of course, that encourages you to want to do more. And yeah, it's really quite a fascinating experience and a rewarding experience. To be like, oh, I don't need any particular gift or skill. I mean, some skill, but 99% of it is just show up over and over and over and over and don't quit. It's like, okay. I don't know how much left of this I have in me. Therefore, I am trying to figure out. Basically, the only thing left is, I mean, I could dink with the rooftops forever, but I think it gives us the feeling. I may want to do some more, kind of refining these clouds a bit. And then the windows I could put in here, but I'm wondering how much of that I really need. we're almost to the end here. So I may just call this one good. Depends on if I want to come back and put windows in this building. I could, or I could leave it like it is and just focus on this. I don't know. What do y'all think? Yep, a major key to showing up. I might add the word consistently. Yes, consistently, for sure. All right, what do y'all think? Do I come back and do another to put the windows in there, or do I leave it as a obviously nobody will know unless they're looking at the picture, and even then it can be from a different perspective where the windows are below the frame of the photo, so I don't know that that is relevant. What do you think? What do y'all think? Almost ready to call this one done. It never will be one of my, it won't be amazing, but it does remind me of being in this place. I know exactly if I went back in it's the area in, I like the windows on the original. Yeah, I think you're right. It wouldn't be bad, I just have to make sure the line of the top of the windows is correct. I had them in here and I painted over them because I just kind of blotched them in a place, but I just need to come in and put them in. Even if they're just like these, not a lot of detail, enough to push the eye up. You should put the windows in. Okay. Majority consensus. Yeah. I may do that, set it aside for a bit, and come finish these clouds, because I do want that kind of I want this definitely in front of the clouds, so but I'm happy with the composition. I'm happy with how this turned out, especially because I don't think it's particularly well composed, the image, the reference, but it turned into a nice little painting. It's actually huge for what it is. I think this is 11 by 14 or 14 by 16 or something like that, so it's kind of big for what I usually paint, especially in these. You can tell these larger paintings were done earlier on in my process, because once I realized, I was like, why am I never able to finish a painting on a live stream? And then I realized I was painting these giant canvas panels instead of small ones like my 5x7s, 8x10s, 7x9s. Okay, I think this is the next one I want to rescue. I'll give you guys a preview of coming attractions. This is kind of a hot mess. It was one I tried to paint from a photo and messed up, and so I just blodged a bunch of paint on, and then it wasn't sized right for the canvas, and so this ended up being squatty and not. But I like these colors, and this is kind of pretty, and I really like the gradient in the back. So I think I can, by turning this into a more stubby vase and kind of a circular vase, and then making the flowers more defined, we could maybe salvage this and make it a pretty little painting. So that's what we may work on next week if I don't dive in sooner. But I appreciate you all hanging out with me for this one. Igreja de Santo Esteban is, I believe, that's my poorly pronounced Portuguese. It's a little gringo, a little Spanish pronunciation because I don't know much Portuguese. All right, let me switch this camera around so that I can say goodnight to you all. I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your week. I hope that you don't get a snowstorm like we're going to, but we're almost done with snowstorms. It will melt very fast because it's supposed to be, it was 50 degrees today, last few days, and even if we get a foot of snow, it'll melt quick. El gusto es mío. Excellent. Excelente. Okay, let me go back here. All right, so let me show you. I don't know how much glare there is, but that's what we have so far. I think it looks pretty nice. Good enough for learning lots of lessons. So I appreciate you all staying with me through the last hour or two. Every Monday night, 6 p.m. Mountain Time is when I am here, at least every Monday night, 6 p.m. And as I said, I am writing over on Substack about my thought process on creativity and this process of learning new skills, particularly taken from my experience learning to paint the last few years, but also this new endeavor I've taken learning pipe organ, and I'm doing some other creative endeavors. So I would love to have you join if that's of interest to you. It's over on Substack. thecreativeedge.substack.com is where I am. But it's been great being with you this evening, and I hope to see you next week. Until then, I hope you have a great rest of your week and a good night. See you next time, everybody.